Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video, we're going to be talking about why it's important to load your main JavaScript file at the bottom of your page rather than in the head of your page to increase loading times. So let's get going on that right now. This will be a fairly quick one, nothing too crazy here. However, I want to stress the importance of putting your main JavaScript files, or what should be your main JavaScript file, at the base of your document. Now, if you take a site like Reddit and you view the source, which by the way is an important thing to look at whenever you are sort of wanting to learn more about websites, is just take any sort of website like Drupal.org. In a Mac, it's Command Option U, or you can just right click and inspect element, and you can look at the source of the page. Now, checking out the difference between these two, it looks like Reddit minifies their HTML, where Drupal has chosen not to minify their HTML. It's not a huge deal there. But let's take a look at something that both of them are doing. We can scroll down, and if you get to the very bottom of these pages, yeah, you'll see assets and links and images and stuff like that. But at the very bottom of the page, you'll see the main JavaScript files. Essentially for this, there's several main JavaScript files, and to be honest, without knowing more about the site, I can't really tell you why they've broken it out, but I'm sure it's for a good reason, in addition to some inline JavaScript here. Where Reddit, if you also look at the bottom, we have this Reddit initialize JS, this init.english.js, and this is probably just some initial JS they want to load before the rest of the page. But if you head to the bottom, you will see their main JavaScript file. And this is probably going to be the meat of essentially the JavaScript used on this site, right? And you might be thinking, well, why do all these people use their JavaScript at the bottom of the page? In fact, it's almost always right here, right before the closing body tag. Here we have jQuery being loaded, we have foundation, we have home controller min, which is, you can see, a minified JavaScript file. Even though it's not very large here, we still have everything being loaded at the bottom. And typically, if you're seeing any JavaScript being loaded at the top, you're seeing Modernizer being loaded at the top, or some sort of initializer. Now, Modernizer, if you're not using it or not familiar with it, it's a library that basically is feature detection instead of browser detection. So it lets you know what features the browser is using. And per their requirements, it needs to be loaded at the top. But why does everybody else load their main JavaScript files at the bottom of their application? Well, the main reason is simply because of loading. So when your website loads, it hits a JavaScript file in your header. It needs to download that file, and your browser typically won't download that in parallel with other things, and it's going to cause your site to take a little bit longer to load. Also, most of the scripts that you're running don't need to do anything until the rest of the DOM loads. So your scripts most likely need the HTML to load in the first place before they can even be useful. So what's going to happen is your website will load all the CSS, it's going to load the HTML, and it's going to make things load up. The essential aspects of your website are going to load faster. And then once it's loaded all that, it's going to come down and it gets to the bottom of your page, and it's going to load the main JavaScript file. At this point, the HTML and CSS has already been loaded, so the download time it takes for that file isn't going to harm the loading of the rest of your page. So in addition to taking all of your JavaScript files and sort of smushing them into one, like we had mentioned before, to reduce the HTTP connections, you should actually be putting them at the very bottom of your site, so that way things like your Google Analytics and any sort of click functions or any sort of JavaScript you have that needs to be loaded are being loaded the very last to speed up loading time. Now, this is a super easy change that you can make in your site to increase your page speed and your page speed rank. So if you have your main JavaScript files, take it out and put it just before the bottom of the body. You may just see a faster loading time on your site immediately based on what your JavaScript is doing. Okay, so that's several tips now on JavaScript. You want to minify them, you want to concatenate the files to reduce your request, and you want to put them at the bottom of your HTML for loading order. Now, these are a lot of the low-hanging fruit. They're easy things to fix, and some of them will have a larger impact than others. Now in the next few videos, we're just going to be going down this list and checking out these items in the page speed that can potentially increase the overall score and loading time of your website. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the HTML or hit me up at Twitter or Facebook at Level Up Tutorials. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.